Hey guys, it's Valkia. Some good news is that I'm currently placed at 152 in top 500 and back to #1 listed Pharah on overbuff. While this might not necessarily mean the best, I'm very educated with lots of knowledge and it's some kind of leaderboard to check on. I would also love to hear your thoughts after the video on the matter, so I've created a dedicated Discord channel on my Valkian server for Pharah changes. It's also a great place to hang out with the community, other Pharah lovers, and people who just generally love my content. Link for this is in the description below, or you can just type in www.discord.gg/Valkia. I'm also nearly at 3,000 Twitch subs, meaning I'll unlock another emote slot. So if you want to help support me with the Twitch sub, you can do this by using the link in the description below. It helps making sure that I can continue surviving to do these amazing videos, bring you more Pharah gameplay, and all the content that I do around it. So the support means a lot to me. If you are a Twitch sub, let me know in the description as well. So let's get started looking at the potential changes for Pharah. Just so we're clear here, overall I feel this change is a nerf to Pharah, and I'll explain why I feel that. There are some useful situations for the changes, but there will also be times in which the changes will not be that effective also. First up on the PTR changes is Concussive Blast cooldown from 12 seconds to 9 seconds. Upon first inspection of this change, it seems like a nice quality of life change, but after studying a little bit more, this change, at least for me, doesn't really impact my gameplay too much. Let me list my importances for Concussive Blast. First of all, I use self-movement pretty much, like 70 to 80% of the time with Concussive Blast, so that means being in the back line, doing some damage to the enemy team, using Concussive Blast to get out and join my team again. Secondly, diving for attacking, so if I see a soldier or a Widowmaker up on the high ground, I can use Concussive Blast to close the gap between myself and them, and it makes it easier to attack them, then booping enemies for environmental kills, and then using it to get back to my team from the spawn. I would say my usage for Concussive Blast is split between self-movement and diving for attacking, at which a smaller cooldown doesn't really change anything at all for me. I still have to put myself in a dangerous situation and still have to wait 9 seconds before I can use it again, and due to the nature of how I use my ability, a smaller cooldown doesn't really give much favour. One of the advantages I did find for the cooldown was on Nepal Sanctum, which I can use Concussive Blast once I've spawned and have it ready again as we're going into the fight to boot people off. Overall, there will be some situations in which the Concussive Blast cooldown will still be available sometimes when it before might not have been, but still I'm stretching my mind to find something at my level which I would find particularly useful with the cooldown. I'll leave it as a nice quality of life change, but not a game changer, and I couldn't go as far to say it was a buff for Pharah. Next up, we're going to look at the rocket launcher. Let me explain what these changes mean. First on the list is attack speed increased, and the values of this are lowered recovery between shots from 0.9 to 0.75, which means the rate of fire has been changed, which is how quickly the rockets are fired, but not how quickly the rockets travel. When I first looked at the changes, I initially got pretty excited about this change, but delving deeper into testing this, I noticed something fairly substantial here, which also links to some of the other changes on the rocket launcher list. The rate of fire increase has a limit to its usefulness. While overall it will slightly increase Pharah's damage per second, it's only really good when you're consistently holding fire, which for me is something that I rarely do. I would hold fire to 1. Shoot spawn doors as the enemies come out to gain ult charge, 2. Burn shields, and 3. While I'm shooting bigger targets which don't need too much rocket accuracy to hit, like Reinhardt, Roadhog, or Orisa. The reason that I found the rate of fire not as useful as first thought, and this is after playing for a few hours, is that I actually don't really take advantage of the rate of fire on the current live servers either. The reason for this is when you play Pharah, you have to be accurate, and to be accurate, you have to take your time to read the movements of the enemy to see where they're going and what they'll do. There is a mental processing time for this, which already means we're starting to lose the advantage of the rate of fire. If I was just to constantly shoot holding left click, I wouldn't be very accurate and I'd be wasting rockets. At my level, this is something I can't afford to do. If I had to try to use this more to my advantage, I would have to learn to read enemy movements quicker. Some are easier to read. For example, a soldier running in a straight line doesn't require much thinking time, but a Genji who's jumping in the air needs more time to decipher the way he moves and to find where the perfect rocket placement is going to be, which typically takes longer than 0.75 to figure out. You'll also be spending more time reloading since you're firing quicker. I said earlier that the rate of fire change also links to some others on the list of the changes, so we'll cover that now. Pharah's rocket damage is split between impact and explosion. The damage values for these have been changed, which is why Jeff initially said that it favours better Pharah players. The live version of Pharah has the following values. Explosion does up to 80 damage, and impact is 40 damage. That adds up to 120 damage per direct hit. And after the changes, its explosion is 65 and impact is 55, which means less splash damage, but more damage on a direct hit. What this means is that you'll do less splash damage and be rewarded for direct hits. However, the overall direct damage is exactly the same at 120 damage. This increases Pharah's difficulty massively for those who can't hit direct hits. Now let's go back to the rate of fire changes. You, the Pharah player, now have to hit more direct hits, which takes way more time to plan and aim, but the rate of fire has increased, which you won't really take advantage of. It's almost as though they cancel each other out for any type of buff. Again, speaking from my level, I can assume with practice that I will increase even more in reaction time and speed, but from studying my gameplay, most shots have a good time between them before shooting to study proper predictions on the enemy movement. The change of damage value also means Pharah will charge her ult slower because she's doing less overall damage during splash. Imagine the enemy team were grouped together and you directly hitting the person in the center. You'd also be doing splash damage to everybody around that person, but because the damage values are lower, overall your ult charge is slower, so this again is another indirect nerf. Even I rely on splash damage to take out some heroes such as Brigitte, who I can't hit directly, but only on the side of a shield, or in situations where I'm pressured, so I'll just aim for splash damage and not directs. And even being the player that I am, it's impossible to hit every direct hit. While I feel the splash damage was changed for more lower level play, this has affected higher level, in which Pharah is already fairly tough to play and puts me back. I guess I'll just have to get good scrub. Moving on to the next change, which is explosion knockback reduced by 20%. This basically means that once you hit a target, there was a small knockback moving the enemy. However, this was previously already changed and reduced before. The idea for this, described by the Overwatch team, we reduced the amount of knockback each explosion causes as they made it very difficult to aim. For me, this just means I won't have as many of those cool kind of boop air shots for frag movies, but I can understand how it would help lower level Pharah players. I had gotten used to the way that enemies move once I'd hit them with a rocket through practice. This is kind of more like a high level kind of Pharah skill. Overall, this could be a fairly neutral kind of change in terms of a buff or a nerf, more of a quality of life, again assumed for more lower level players of Pharah. The final change took me a while to figure out. What the hell is self knockback range increased by 25? You know, I had no idea. I was sat around. So I was on my stream pondering what this was, and I brought up Microsoft Paint to finally understand, and here was my reaction after I figured it out. So let's get my little paint, let's get the little paint thing going up on right now. So that's me, that's Pharah. Alright, let's give me some wings. Okay, I think I understand it now. So the area before, which I could shoot around me and that would affect me, was this. Oops, fucking paint. And now, let's put some wings on. And now it's like 25% bigger, so it's like that now. So anywhere I shoot there, around me, moves me. I assume that's what it means. I assume that's what it means. So before, it's like, if I shoot anywhere within that circle, then I would move myself. And now if I shoot anywhere within this 25% bigger circle, then I'd move myself as well. Basically, why is that even a fucking thing? Nobody fucking cares. Honestly, that's not an anything. Well, why? Like, I've never thought to myself once, oh yeah, I'm gonna knock myself back when I shoot this guy. Never, not once in fucking 1,000 hours of Pharah. It doesn't make any fucking sense. I'm on a fucking meltdown right now. Do you understand math? I do not understand math, but I understand drawings. Drawings? I've just drawn this down and I've just come to this fucking epiphany of like, I can now see this visually of why this is a thing which shouldn't be a fucking thing. Like, why? Who fucking cares? What? You know what I mean? This is like I'm at a fucking meltdown right now. And now I figured this out, I thought it could be something cool, like maybe the rocket launcher does 25% more height, or makes you go 25% further, or Concussive Blast makes you go 25% further. Basically, I've never consciously made the decision, or even realized that self-knockback, other than rocket jumps, was any kind of use. So for me, this changes absolutely nothing. To summarize my thoughts on this, I feel this is a nerf. Bullet point. Faster rockets are great, but you have to be more precise, which means you have to take more time before shots, which means you're not really taking advantage of the rate of fire. Second, Concussive Blast cooldown isn't really a game changer. It's kind of nice, but it's nothing, doesn't change much. Damage changes mean less ult charge, which again, is a nerf. Explosion knockback potentially means more precise aiming, great for lower level players, again, not much of a change for me. Self knockback range increase, what? I just don't even, I'm ignoring that one. While I don't want to be too negative, and I would love to find more positives, I have to give the information on this topic the way I see it for Pharah. Overall, my hope is that I can take more advantage of the rate of fire, and that the lower concussive blast cooldown overall means my attack rate will increase. It's not really the change I was hoping for, but I'm sure I'll adjust to the changes and continue to play Pharah at a good level.